Okie dokie, let's see if this thing's working. 2 minutes early, but you know, I think we're probably okay. Just chuck this window up here. There we go, that's better. It's better. Oakley dokley. Oh, I suppose I should probably turn on my glorious mug so people can see me. So they don't think that, you know, I'm not really me and I'm actually a fraud, a fake. Because that would just be terrible. I wonder if I can find the seam in this floor. I bet it's right here. Yeah, I bet so. And then 4 knowns away. Yerp. Not so seamless after all, I guess. To be expected, however. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. Well, how's come no? I mean, I'm not 100% sure what that actually means. Everything's green on this end. What would be, Huh. Interesting. Well, I'm just going to ignore that and hope that the stream is actually coming through okay. If there's not, we have problems, I guess. Ah, yes, the mysterious sleeping quarters that are super bright, even though there's no light in them. Oh man, I gotta put a format in for the area. I thought I just did like the radius around me. Okay, I don't know what's happening here, but there we go. Yeah, I knew there wouldn't be anything there. Fix light. Oh, I have to do here. Okay, so I do fix light here 10. Oh yeah, that's more like it. I bet that means the whole map is, everybody that played it had the same issue. Oh well, that's what happens. I mean, it's not the biggest deal in the world. I don't think anybody really cares too much. Is there even anybody here? Hello? Is anybody here? Is anybody home? It appears if not. Alright, well, we're going to get started. Wait, is it? It's 10:01. Local time. Time to begin. Well, so, where to begin? Oh, hey, BH3 Panzer. Hello to you as well. I suppose I should start with... I should pull this up on the CBD page. Yo. 247 downloads. It says there's only 1 comment. But that's completely not true because there's a ton of comments. But we'll get to the comments later on, I suppose. I think we will start with the basics. So, oh, you know, actually I have to hack the game real quick because the game that went out doesn't have all of the features that it actually needs for me to do any of this. So I have to throw creative back in there. And I think this world edit stuff belongs in the world edit folder. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Okay. And all right. This is kind of jacked up. And there's no texture for the world edit wand. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, it appears as if I have to change something else here as well. Give me 1 second. Nope, it's not that one. It's this one. So I had to... Oh, you're not English speaking. Well, thanks for watching anyway. Someplace in here, I changed the size of the page in inventory. But I don't know where, because I don't see that listed in here. What? It only has 2 files. One of them has to have the size of the inventory, right? We have a theme. Oh, it's probably this one right here. 8 by 5. I wonder what it's supposed to be. Bear with me a second longer as I find out what the correct size is for inventory. Watching a video in another language is quite the experience. I imagine so. Let's see if... Oh, come on. I have to have something that uses SF inventory. There we go. Okay. What is the correct default size? Because I just overwrote it to make it work because I didn't have time to figure out the right way to do it. Which is obviously the wrong way to do things. But when you have 3 weeks, you kind of... You kind of have to just make do with what you can do, you know? Okay, well, something's still broke. I may just copy everything. Whoops. Let's copy from the right place. Paste it over the right place. Save it. And hope that it works. Ay! There we go. I don't know why there's a help, but, you know, we'll ignore that. Hello, Bubba Frog. All right, so here we go. This is the definitive guide to this game. It's actually not a definitive guide. Also, that is entirely untrue because I already have all of the highest privileges. What were the cheat codes called? I think it was just security level 1 and power level... It should technically be set to 0. So now I don't have enough power to open the doors. That's only the 3 wide doors. Interestingly enough, this door doesn't tell me that I don't have security clearance, which it should be telling me, but okay. So when you start here, you go in here. We have this beautiful room. A lot of these assets I pulled from pre-existing doodads, mods, I guess. So like this table here, I made, I think this was initially for the Epic server, but then it was carried over onto Trader, and now it's here as well. The water jug thing, I think this was made for Trader. I don't believe it's on Epic at all. Sofa is on both of them. Trash can, I believe, is from Trader. The lights in the corners here, these are new. But what I did is I didn't upscale the textures, but I created new higher resolution textures. So as you will notice here, table has a very nice, I have no idea what type of wood this is. So yeah, but it has a very nice texture. I use Stable Diffusion to generate a lot of the new textures here, actually. So the floor here, that's just something my computer invented out of nothing, which is pretty neat. Unfortunately, its seamless capabilities leave a lot to be lacking. So if you look carefully, you can see this is where the seam is. And this is after I manually fixed the seam. And it's still visible, but yeah, you know, it'll get better. This door texture, this is actually a photo I took of a giant sheet of metal, and I just use a chunk of it, which is cool. So that's fun. The lights up on the ceiling, these were new assets I created. It would really be easier to show the assets just in inventory here. Let me run into here where we got some room. So what were the three words, whatever you call them, prompt words? Secret, story, and space. So obviously I tied them all into the title quite a bit. And the first weekend I was kind of just trying to figure out a name to use. And actually, do I have no clip? There we go. I spent a ton of time figuring out the skybox, which, I mean, it looks cool and all, but turns out that was kind of a huge waste of time because you can only see it from right here. I literally could have just not done this, and I would have saved a ton of time. However, now I know how to do the skybox stuff, so at least I learned something. So, it wasn't a complete waste of time. It was just a mostly waste of time because it really added nothing to the game, and it spent me a whole day figuring it out. But that was before I kind of really had a concrete idea of what I was doing. So, it's not the biggest deal in the world. Let's look at some of the fun things that I created for this. So this was new. Oh, these are just two versions of the same thing. I don't really need both of those. Created that, created this one. The doors, obviously, the walls, the ceiling things, the lights. I'm only pulling out the interesting ones here that I'm going to be adding to. Oh, these are my favorite, the storage racks. Absolute favorite. I think the tool chest already existed. 99% sure tool chest already was a thing. What space mod is it? It's not a mod per se. This is my entry. Yep, it's my space camp, or my entry for the game jam. So these are all the new nodes that I created. So we have the whatever you call this, cryogenic. It's what is it actually? Like they freeze a body and then you somehow don't die even though you're frozen. I mean, it doesn't actually work, but that's what they do in video games. It's like, so you can basically just sleep away a long period of time without aging, and definitely doesn't work. But I did do this cool feature, which I had some people asking me about. Like, you can click on it and nothing happens, but if you stand behind it and click on it, and pulls up this little form spec. That's kind of neat. I spent way too much time figuring that out. I don't think it's supposed to work from that far away. But you know what? Maybe I just got really lazy and made it not care about the distance. So basically what I'm doing here, let's put it the other direction. Nope, I want the other direction. I also did a terrible job with this stuff because they don't all place to the same direction as you would think they would. Basically, when you right click on this node, yeah, exactly. It doesn't actually work. It's a theory, but at the moment, I think you just die if you do it. But basically, what happens when you right click on this, it checks the rotation of the node, and then it checks your position and compares your position to the node's position. And in this case, this is Z. So it checks the Z value you're in, and if your Z value is in with, like, I think half of the node Z value, it'll display. So, or maybe it's 1. So I can be 1 node away, and I can still see it, but I have to be behind it. So if I'm like right here, it won't display, but I think I should be getting pretty close to where it will. Okay, there we go. So yeah, that was just a fun little tidbit. It adds absolutely 0 to the game. I just basically did it because I felt like it. And, I wanted to waste some time. So there's that. This will potentially get added to Trader. I'm not positive. I kind of broke some of the rules. Not that they're like actual real rules, but this kind of has a bit more angling to it than I use in most of my models. Also, there's goofy things with the lighting here because I never ran fixed light over the entire map. Also, the walls and the ceiling things are all mesh nodes, so they let light through them. So that's kind of funky as well. I made these two little computer desk things for the bridge. They turn off if you don't have power, which is kind of neat. If you do have power, they kind of show you some useless stuff. Had a lot of fun making this. Man, these engines were so much fun. Just, you know, again, breaking some rules. Using some higher poly meshes there. This, same thing. It was a lot of fun making them, though. There originally was, but it doesn't exist anymore because I didn't get it implemented. There were going to be more puzzles in the game, more so than flipping on a power breaker and then repairing some power transformers. So there was a third node that was like the controller for these, because this is an engine, this is a fuel tank, and like you were going to have to do something to reroute the fuel to the engines that didn't work to the engines that do work, and the empty fuel tanks to, you know, the broken engines, and the full fuel tanks to the working engines. I didn't have time to implement that though. So yeah, that didn't exist in the Game Jam version. Hopefully at some point it will be implemented though. I have this nice thing which doesn't work there. You know, I'll just break this sofa. Okay, so it kind of... How does this line up? Is this like centered to 3 nodes? It sure is. It was made specifically for a room on the map, so that's why some of these things don't really work too well for anything. But what they were specifically designed to fit. So yeah, that's why that. But this has just a fun form spec. You just
back online.
Flip a power switch in it. This is like the main shut off in a breaker panel. Yeah, and then you have some power, which will last for a minute or two. So if I go out through here, actually it lasts for 3 minutes. Now I can open the 3 wide doors. Whoops, which is great and all. Ooh, don't want to be in there. Which is great and all until the power runs out again. But you know that's fine because you can fix the power. So yeah, this was, as you can tell, a very basic model, just some square boxes and some tubes. I might adapt this and put it into Trader as well. Either make it a sabotage node or a task node. All I'd have to do is, if I can even get in close enough for you to see these are cylinders here, and I just have to turn them into squares. Obviously, I'd also need to lower the resolution of the texture because all of the textures here, almost all of the textures here, I should say, I never upgraded the texture for the water cooler. So this is still at a 32 pixel per node resolution. But I believe other than that, everything is at a 128 pixel resolution, which let me do a lot more things along the lines of like AO bakes to make stuff have self-shading, fun things like that. And then we have la creme de la creme, power substation transformer thing. I don't know why it's not. Why is it not showing up? What? It should have a form spec. Oh, maybe the power has to fail before this is visible. I don't remember. But this was kind of a fun one to make. Again, just a bunch of square boxes. The higher resolution texture really let me do a lot of creative things. So we did an AO bake on it, because I do AO bakes on everything. And then using the UV layout, I exported that as an SVG, and then I imported it into GIMP. And then GIMP has a feature like stroke along path or something, where it'll draw lines on an SVG. So that's how I got the highlight here on all the edges, which was fun. And then this little screen here, this was just some random thing that Stable Diffusion conjured up for me. I forget what my prompt was. Something like sci-fi heads-up display or something. And I kind of just cropped it and scaled it to fit. Yeah. So I have no idea what any of this stuff's supposed to mean, but, you know, it gives it some visual interest, which is what everybody wants. The post lights, these were neat to do. So this was, I would have done more of this kind of stuff, but I didn't really have the time to do too much exploring. So this is one of my, it's not my first. I did this once before for the force field generator in my trader game, where I created a model, did a texture, and then in Blender I did a emission, diffusion, ambience occlusion bake. So basically this texture on here is 100% created in Blender, and it's procedural, or is it procedural? I don't know if procedural is the right word, but it's node-based textures that are baked onto the mesh. So I have 4 variants of them where I just changed the color ramp for that and got a variety of different colors. And I actually did this same thing for this one, which the 128 pixel resolution really shines through here. Gives you lots of nice little details in it that you just wouldn't get in a 32 pixel resolution. You know, so that was fun. And then what else? My favorite part, this is definitely going into Trader because I love palette racking. We've got this boring little bed, this fabric texture. You guessed it, generated with stable diffusion. And then, dude, I love these so much. Wait, why is it not letting me? Oh, yeah. Because when you click on it, you make it generate an inventory. It's so nice. I like it so much. It's so good. Now, you know, there might be some complaints about, well, basically this right here, because you know, I kind of didn't pay enough attention to what I was doing. So essentially the UV map for this, the yellow beam here, orange beam rather, is one mesh. Well, it's not one mesh, but it's not connected to the green piece. I mean, it's the same mesh. It's a different UV island. Put it that way. That's the easiest way to explain it. But it should have little tabs that go over to the green part here, where, you know, the pins go that sit into the holes that are in the uprights. Also, there should be little holes in the uprights. I wouldn't do actual holes, but like just darker circles for where all the beams can be affixed in. Yeah, I missed some pretty crucial details in this racking, so it looks kind of silly when you look at it like this, but I didn't catch it till it was like the last day, and I didn't have time to get that fixed amongst the other more pressing things like making the game actually work. Wait, I was gonna say Prescott, but that's not Prescott. Pescadot? Hello. Bubba Frog, no, I have not tested your Ranged Weapons Remastered mod. Sorry. Maybe we'll try to get to that one day. I got a ton of games I have to do videos on right now. So, yes, I'm kind of backlogged a little bit. There are a few variations to this, which actually I can show you better. Oh, let's not go that high. If we run into... Here we go. If we run into here. So there's a lot of little neat features that you would never know unless you played the game multiple times, which I don't know why you would. But the first time the world loads, all of these shelves here are just filled with whatever they were filled with when the map was saved. But then the first time that this block loads, there's an LBM that runs, and it actually just selects all of these nodes and just randomly swaps them. So the colors of the bins change for every game. The contents of the bins also change for every game, but that's done via a different means. Yeah, I would have liked to have a little more variety here, because as you can probably tell, these three are all literally the exact same texture, just you shifted on the containers. And this purple one here, this thing just looks kind of stupid. I don't know what that was supposed to be. I was gonna make better textures, but again, kind of ran out of time, so I couldn't improve everything to the degree that I necessarily would have liked to. But yeah, you know, it worked out pretty well. You can't climb on them, unfortunately, which that's everybody's favorite thing to do with pallet racking is climb on it. But it is what it is. All right, moving along. Let's look at the little terminal doodads. I suppose I probably should clean this stuff out of here just so I can walk through. Terminals are fun. Had to learn so many form spec things. But the form spec editor game, I don't know who made that. It is so helpful. I was able to get all of my stuff lined up correctly with relative ease. Yeah, we just did some fun little image buttons here. As you may have guessed, all of these were also generated with Stable Diffusion because ain't nobody got the time to do all this stuff by hand. This is one of my favorite parts. Oh, this was so good. This was a last minute thing. I had no idea how I could get an actual map. This was my only thought. Well, you know, with F9 I can get a little picture here and, you know, maybe take a screenshot of the game window and crop it because I can zoom in on here and I can make it square somehow. I don't know if I can get rid of the arrow though. That might just be stuck there. I feel like there's a texture that you can use for that to override it. So that was my only thought. I was like, well, I'd have to literally rip the roof off of every single level to do this. It sounded like it was going to be a lot of work and it was going to take a long time. So I just was like, you know what? Forget it. I ain't got the kind of time right now. I'll just make this janky kind of sketch, which kind of, you know, is correct. So we have the body storage down on the first level. This is the sleeping quarters, the lobby. That's where we're standing right now. There's a little doctor's office, and there's the, what do you call the thing where they eat? The galley? Is that what it's called? I think so. And then there's the two ramps that go up to the next level, which actually these connect over to here, but, you know, whatever. Then you got the cadets, cadets quarters, the mechanics quarters, the galley. Yeah, that's what they call it, the galley. That's what the food is. Officers' quarters here. You know, this actually isn't accurate because I think there's an armory in here, and the mechanics. Oh no, the mechanics are there. Yeah, there's an armory here. Oh, these is officers, I think. This says to hangar, which you'd never know from this map, but that connects to the escape pod section here. And then these goofy little dash lines are a bunch of ramps, which goes down to the engine room, which I didn't put on the map for some reason. And then the bridge is actually over here, not over to this side. So it's kind of a very useless map, but potentially there's a slim chance that it could have helped somebody do something. I don't know. Let's see. These doors, I believe... Hey, I'm not supposed to be able to open that. I don't have security clearance. Oh, wait. You know what? Didn't I set my security clearance to 1? Yeah, so that's a cadet. So I actually do have clearance for that. So we got... Oh, I didn't upgrade the texture resolution of the sinks either. Or the stove, come to think of it. Or the refrigerators, actually. Fun. But what we did do... And this is essentially the entire game in a nutshell, is you go through and you click on everything. And you try to find useful things. Now what I did do, oh hey, we got an ID. What I did do is make it check inventory, so when you click on something you don't get multiples of them. So like the space rations, you'll only get one of at a time until you eat it. Initially, I had thought of making your health automatically wane as you played, but I didn't do that. So the rations are kind of useless, actually. Again, ration textures generated with Stable Diffusion, so that was fun. The IDs, that actually I did almost all by myself. The logo thing here, Stable Diffusion. The faces, Stable Diffusion. All the tools here, Stable Diffusion. The brownie, that was even done with Stable Diffusion because I didn't feel like digging up a picture of my own brownies and cleaning. Oh, all the books. Those were all generated with Stable Diffusion as well. These goofy part looking things, Stable Diffusion. Dude, I had so much fun with Stable Diffusion. All of these textures, well, not all of them. All of these textures and this texture is Stable Diffusion. It's so much fun. It's just kind of slow because I have a slow GPU. Oh well. Anyway, so this was one of the complaints. I don't know if complaints is the right word. This is some of the feedback I got on CDB. Somebody didn't like that you just punch the air. You just punch in the air to upgrade your clearance level. So you get a text message, a chat message. Congratulations, you just gained security clearance level 2. So now I could do level 2 things like opening this door. Nope, level 2 doesn't open that door. I think I can get into mechanics room now though. Yep, we're not there yet, so we'll go back. But see, here's the thing why I had to do it that way. Because let me run over to the other side to the doctor's office and see if we can get a higher security clearance card here. So the file cabinet should all have stuff. Ah, there we go. So I have a engineer's ID. So that's fun. So basically, oh, I also didn't upscale these textures. Nobody actually cares about that. Oh yeah, and there's, whoops. There's this little doodad too. I put so many little things in that probably most people didn't notice. Yeah, when you're higher, hey, power transformers are offline. So those need to get fixed. But the higher your security clearance, the more things show. Also, and I'm sure nobody noticed this, the menu changes depending on your security clearance. So right now I have oatmeal, eggs and toast, orange juice, baked potatoes, fried chicken, orange juice, mac and cheese, hamburgers, and red wine. Ooh. And if I upgrade my, I don't know why it does that. If I upgrade to security level 3, oh, you know what? It stays the same. But at level 1, it's really junk. Also, I now have whatever this is supposed to be. I thought I did. I guess I didn't. I thought I did hover text on these. Well, it really wouldn't have made sense, I suppose, if this is supposed to be emulating a touchscreen. You wouldn't have. This is supposed to be like the space map or something, which is why, again, Stable Diffusion. There's a picture of space. Yes, very very smart. There's a whole little back end to this thing, so you can give people notifications, which is kind of neat. It was used for one thing to let them know that power was offline. It was kind of pointless to do, actually. Oh man, I wasted so much time building API. Well, they weren't really technically APIs for things that I didn't need to do. Anyway, back to why you have to eat the eat the badges for the for the system to work. So somebody was saying I should have used it, so you need to use the card like on the terminal or on the doors. But here's the thing. Let me see if I can find this to explain it properly. I probably can't, but I shall try. I think that's in core. Functions maybe? No. Well, anyway, it's in something. Yeah, I don't. Was it in this? No. Mechanical parts? No, it's not in that. Oh, what is it in? Did I put that in map? It doesn't feel like that should have been in map. Oh, you know what? Actually, I think it is, because there's a thing called storage. Dispenses items. Excellent file name. All right, so, oh, can I pull this up somehow? Yeah, I can. Okay, let's open this up here. Wait, why is it not? Hey, what do you mean it's not connected or available? I just opened it. Give me 1 second. Food crates? Yeah, I guess that's what we're looking at. Okay, we're looking at food crates. I don't know why we're looking at food crates. Because that's not what we want. We want to be looking at the map, nodes, dispenses items. Let me make this font needs a bit larger. All right, so essentially, this is how all of the stuff works. I think this is our function dispense. Well, let me get to a node first. The beds don't dispense anything. Wait, the beds? What? I didn't know that the beds dispense stuff. Interesting. Why did I put that here? Anyway, when you right click on any of these nodes that dispense items, it calls the dispense function. The dispense function is a very fun function. Basically, it checks the metadata of the node that you're clicking on and looks for a has item string. Now, this is kind of stupid. I don't know why it's this way. It's always been this way. It's just what you have to deal with. If you get a string from metadata that doesn't have a value assigned to it, it doesn't return nil. No, it just returns, a blank. So it returns a string, but the string has nothing in it. So you literally have to check if the returned meta is, nothing, but not actually nothing, if that makes any sense. And if there is nothing, then it checks the security level of the player. And this is why you had to, eat the IDs and gain the security, because it's stored in player meta. And then, depending on what your security level is, depends on what items are going to be put into the node. So what it does is it takes your security level and adds 1 to it. So if your security level 0, which would be when you first wake up as a civilian, everything you're clicking on, and actually that's not even how that works, but the first thing you click on populates everything within a 6 node radius? Yeah. Well, it's not really a radius though, because it's a square, but in a 12 by 12 box with you at the center, so I think it's actually a 13 by 13 box with you in the center, gets populated when you click that first time. And based off of what your security level is, decides what the nodes are populated with, which is not technically populated. They don't have an inventory. They just have a meta string, which holds an item string of the item that they're given, which is what it is. And so the IDs are just numbered with a value. And then, if you're level 1, well, it's going to add 1 to that. So it's level 2, and it's going to give you a level 2 badge in one of the items within that range. So how this is used, I think personally, is actually kind of genius, because there were some people saying on the comments on the game page that it's possible to throw out the ID and get into an unwinnable state. That's actually not true. You can, yes, throw out the IDs, but you can't get into an unwinnable state, because you'll just get that same ID again at some other point when you click on stuff. And you'll be saying, well, what if you already went through and clicked everything and, you got the only ID there was and you threw it out? And now, because what happens, let's continue on here. So we check if it has, this is filling the nodes. So if it was empty, it put something in them. And then once it's filled, if you have room for the item and you don't already have the item, it puts it into your inventory, and then it sets the string to none. So now it says there's nothing, which is different than when there's a string of literally nothing. So it's different. It just doesn't do anything. And if there is something there and you don't have space for it, it gives you a little chat message. But see what happens, and it's in a different file because I was kind of all over the place with this, is every time the map block is loaded, it sets all of the meta on everything for item to nothing. So every time you go into it, or not every time you go into a new area, but every time the map is loaded for an area, it clears out everything in any of the dispensing nodes. So you could pick up, a book at one point from a countertop, but then go back at another point and you could get a badge, you could get some food. That's actually the only things you could get were books, foods, or the IDs. And so you couldn't technically get into an unwinnable state in that fashion. Also, this little chunk of looping here just does all of the nodes it found and places the ID in one of them, which was my hacky way of making sure that you always had an ID placed, because I didn't want to get into a position where, you didn't get an ID or placed multiple of the same ID, which would be kind of dumb. Another thing I could have done was just made it place an ID like placeholder, and if you found an ID, it would check what security level you were and automatically incremented by 1. But it would have essentially done the same thing as this, so I don't see that would have been any better. But yeah, so there's like the dressers, the desks, the cabinets, the sink, the stove, the refrigerator, file cabinet. Oh, there's chests too. Yeah, we didn't see any of those yet, but there's some chests in here. They're just ripped straight from Epic with a higher resolution texture applied, which I must say does look pretty good. All right, well, continuing on, let's see what I come to next. So I did these textures. Actually, I made them in Blender, believe it or not. It was pretty slick. So they can kind of all use the same color palettes and stuff, same base textures, just different mesh. So they kind of flow together pretty well. These walls are super plain. It's because I ran out of time. I was gonna put like little greebles, I think they call it, little extra. Oh, I gotta switch this back. So sorry. Let me go back this. There we go. I should put the chest back out then, I suppose. So there's the chest, just ripped straight from Epic. Yeah, just upgraded the texture. These walls, we're gonna have extra details on them, which is why, here we go. I have a 1 node wide and a 2 node wide variant. That wasn't so I could just, do big chunks without putting fewer pieces out, because I could have just done this with all 1 wide pieces. But the plan was to have like little vents and wires and stuff on them, and so there would be some breaking up of just constantly the same texture over and over and over. But I ran out of time, so literally they all are just this base texture. They also have other things layered onto it, but that didn't get done. Anyway, we're going to continue on. So we got all of our cadets' rooms here. They have different things in them. Every cadet gets his own terminal for some reason. You could make a proprietary Minetest game. There is actually one that exists. I actually have a copy of it, although it's a very, very, very old copy, so I don't assume it's anything like its actual current condition. Magic something it's called. I was a beta tester, alpha tester, some level tester. I don't know which. So I have a copy of it. I don't know where you would find it, but yes, you can 100% make a proprietary game with Minetest. The engine is not proprietary, obviously, so there's that. But you can. I don't know why I'm not getting anything from. There we go. Getting some items here. I don't exactly know how you would distribute that, because they would have to still download the Minetest engine separately. I don't believe you could bundle it, although maybe you could. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not a lawyer, so I couldn't say for sure. But I think you could bundle the engine with your game. But I don't know how that would legally work for if you were selling the game. If you were distributing it free, there would be no issues, and it could still be proprietary. I don't know exactly how you would keep it proprietary. I guess you'd have to just obfuscate all of your code, but you can run that through a unobfuscator. I don't know what it's actually called, but a thing that disobfuscates the code. So that wouldn't really do it. As a server, obviously, everything's run server side. So you could totally do it on a server. And I mean, there's many servers that have mods that they don't release to the public and are technically proprietary in that sense. Maybe not so much in a licensing sense, but in a sense that they haven't made the code public. So it's essentially proprietary, even if it is licensed under a freely distributable license. But yeah, technically you could. So I got another ID here. Some people said they could read these. I mean, I guess you can kind of barely, just somewhat. Clearance level 4. Rank 3rd officer. I don't remember what this says. Cradrich? Crad kid? I don't know. I feel like that's supposed to say Leonard. But I don't think that says Leonard. I don't know. People could read some of these, I guess. That was not actually intentional. I just used completely random names. Also, completely random pictures that I just generated because why not? Again, we'll eat that. We gain security clearance. So now we can go do more things. Potentially, if I were to run back down here, I could now still find things in here. Yeah, like look at that. So there's a slim chance that I could find a higher tier ID down here. Now it doesn't look like I have. Nope. Okay, but the possibility does exist that you could actually find all of the IDs on the first floor here and never actually go through the cadets rooms or the mechanics rooms. I should be able to get through this door now. Yeah. Which means I can also get through this little secret passageway door. Which these are fun passages to get lost in. I think I want to go through here, right? Yeah. So now we're in the hangar. I just bypassed half the map. These doors say the pods were jettisoned. They also say there's not enough power to operate the door, which, I mean, it's probably not the best of things to have done, but oh well. Anyway, that was actually not the right door. If we continue this way, this should take me to the engine room. Yeah. Oh, this reminds me. Oh, this is so cool. I need to talk about this. So look at this. I have an info text on this door that says main engine room, right? And I go through it and I point at it from the other side and it says it's a maintenance corridor. Pretty nifty, right? How does that work? Well, let me just tell you. Let me get the tool to configure it first. That's a Scoofy, I don't know what this is supposed to be. Rendered, or created with stable diffusion, of course. So here's how the doors work. They have two info texts, one for each side of the door, a power level, and a security level. Every time you try to open a door, it just checks your security level versus the security level required, and it checks the power level, which is a global value to the door. The info text, let me just put a door in the middle of the room so we can kind of see how this works a little better. Where are the doors? What? Am I blind? Oh, wait. Yeah, I am. Here it is. Because they don't look like doors. All right. So, whoa, I also have fast on. So here's the door, right? And now the door is 2 nodes. I mean, it's 1 node, but it takes up the space of 2 nodes. And because of that, I have this little bonus that I am afforded. In that this whole side of the node, when you look at the debug text up here, I'm pointing at SSS_map : door_1_ closed when I'm pointing at this side of the door. But when I go to the other side of the door, I am now pointing at door_1_ invisible, which is actually the node that exists in the upper half here, whereas the door closed exists in the lower half. So essentially all I had to do was make the collision box, or not the collision box, selection box exist, 2 nodes high, but only half a node thick. Although it actually looks like it's the full node thick on this one. And then on the invisible one, it's half a node thick. So when you're pointing at it from this side, you're pointing at this invisible one, whereas when you're pointing from this side, you're pointing at the closed one. Now they both carry the exact same function. So it just checks if you're pointing at closed, it uses the current position to swap the node. And if you're pointing at the invisible, it gets the position below itself. So you're pointing at the actual node and then opens the door. It also does all the protection checks, or not protection, but security and power checks that way as well. So that was a whole bunch of fun to figure out. And then here, this wasn't actually super helpful, because there's no way to tell if you're looking at the outside or the inside of the door when you place it. But we can just do this and submit and see that the invisible door says help, and you can use the configuration tool on the invisible door and it'll tell you the same thing. It would have made more sense to do like invisible and visible instead of outside and inside, because outside and inside don't mean anything, but it does tell you it's the top half, which I knew was the invisible. So yeah, this was never meant to be, I mean, this is only visible when you're in the creation mode, which doesn't ship with the game. You actually have to copy other files in manually. So nobody ever saw this, so I didn't really care about, you know, how clear this was to anybody, because nobody could ever see it. But yeah, so that's how the doors work. We get in here, we got this thing. Flip the power on. Because I already flipped the power on a different one, once you're at power level 1, it won't let you switch this. So yeah, that kind of breaks that, but because it's the one that exists, it doesn't actually break it. And then we have these, which these will only allow you to put in the tool or the parts. And when you, they all have the exact same form spec. When you right click on any one of these 6, because there's 3 here and there's 3 here, they do a find nodes in area, and I checked how the map is built. So these are all traveling in the Z direction. So I just checked a wide enough span of the Z direction to no matter what, get all 6 of them. kind of a hacky method probably, but it worked. And then it just randomly sets the needed item on every single one to one of 4 items, 5 items. How many items are there? 5 items. Yeah. So that it always is looking for the same part. It's kind of a hassle because you only can see 8 items here. Although in the game you have 16, so you could copy items, or not copy, but move them. But yeah, it was probably super annoying to have to just grab a bunch of pieces, because even if you had, well, I could grab one right now. So I have this reduction chamber thing. I can throw it in. Didn't hurt. It didn't fix things, but it never hurts to replace old parts. So I lost that part, and it didn't even do me any good. So that was probably super annoying to people, but sorry, I guess. I ran out of time, man. Yeah, there was going to be a thing here to fix these, like I said before, but that didn't happen. We can go through. I'm not going to fix those doors or things. I'm just going to cheat using the cheat codes and do power level 3. So now we have full power. Oh, one other thing I did, which probably nobody would have noticed. When the power level fails, so you may have heard it, and I should have gotten a chat message about it. Yeah. So you turn the power on, you get a chat message that says power system back online, and there's also an audio saying it. And then after 3 minutes, it goes critical. And then I think another minute later, it fails. And then you go down to power level 1, which will still let you open the doors, but that's about it. And then you have to fix those power transformers. If you exit the game after you flip that power switch, the next time you come back in the game, that timer is restarted at 3 minutes. So technically, you could like every 2 minutes and 45 seconds exit the game and then reload it and never fix those power transformers in the engine room, and you could still win the game because you'd be at full power. Because I don't record what power or how much time is left when you exit. I just check if it's been fixed, and if it hasn't, when you start it, it just resets. So technically you could cheat, but I felt like nobody was going to look at the code to know that that was a possibility, to spend the time going back and forth doing that. So I'm pretty sure I'm okay. Just some more rooms that you find stuff, and basically that's all you do in the game is look for stuff. Somebody did manage this, which I didn't think would work. This was a thing that was gonna happen, but I ran out of time. So this is to get up to the outside, and there's invisible nodes here that kill you. It turns out if you take a bunch of rations from the storage area, that you can actually just eat the rations while you're up there, and you can fly through space and get out of the space that kills you, and then just fall to your death pretty much, because I didn't fill the entire space with nodes you could climb, and that would also kill you. So yeah, somebody did that. I'm like, whoops. Well, I didn't think anybody was gonna actually try that. You know. Here's the. This is how you get into the engine room the first time. Because you can't open the door here because you need power level 1 at least to operate these, and you don't have power level 1. Also, I suppose I should mention this. I spent way too much time figuring out level design stuff here. So because you can't operate power or the 3 wide doors when the game first starts because you don't have the electricity, you can get into here, and then you can use this door to get to the galley, and you can use this door here to get to the doctor's office. And throughout there, someplace you will find an ID that gives you cadet level clearance. Now, for reasons undisclosed, cadets can get into this maintenance corridor. However, from here, they can't get into this door. This you have to have security level 2, which would be a mechanic. And you also have security level 2 to get in there. Now, interestingly enough, one of these, the security level goes higher, and you have to be, oh no, it's power level goes higher. You have to have power level 2 there. Yeah, okay, never mind. I thought you had to be an engineer to get up there. But I guess just a plain old mechanic can. But anyways, cadet can't use either of these doors. The only door the cadet can do is this door, which gets them up here, which was necessary because they have to be able to get... Technically, you could get the mechanic's ID from the first level. You could. But you couldn't get through that door, so there needed to be a way to get up here. So that way you could get through this door, which doesn't require any power. So that you could fall through this hole in the ceiling to get into the engine room, which you then can't get back up through. However, you're okay because you get in here, you switch your power on. Now you have power, these doors are operable. And they continue to operate for the rest of the game because they only need power level 1, and when the power fails, it goes back to level 1. Yeah, so there's that. Also, you can get up to the... There's a lot of fun secret little passageways here. The mechanical storage room, so I can pick up a whole bunch of coil cores. I don't know what to actually do. These books all have text in them. If you're interested, you can go ahead and read them. I'm not going to go through any of them because it's honestly quite boring. You'll see here the first time you click on it, it goes from blank, and then it tells you what's in it, which, you know, makes sense because you wouldn't know what's in it until you click on it, right? Stupidly, I think I made the rations stackable. Space rations. Yeah, so, see, that wasn't supposed to be that way. Whoops. Everything else isn't, but the rations are. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Anyway, we got this fun little area up here with cabinets, you know, more things where you can find stuff like this book that I just found, a random journal, and some random pods sitting there. You can take this ramp down and in. You could get here normally too. That was kind of an afterthought. I made this, and there was just this stairway to get into. And I was like, well, that's great, but what if it's a big part? And I put these in. I was like, well, you're not going to carry this pod down the stairs like a ladder. So I had to put a ramp in. But I was already had the other part built. So I was like, well, I'll just leave it. So we have this fun. Oh, this passage. This passage is kind of special. Only in that you have to be an engineer to use it. So if you look at this, whoops. Security level 3. So the mechanics can't use this because the mechanic's only level 2. This gets you back to here, which this will take us down to the body storage. Eventually someplace. Yep. It'll also take us over to the hangar if we go through here. And takes us to the engine room if we go through there. We're not actually interested in doing any of that because we already kind of looked through that passage. We're interested in the tunnel over here, which this one takes you, takes you into this guy's office because you need a passage from there to someplace. Then you can get into the hangar through these doors here. Again, you have to have power to do that. You can get in here without having power, interestingly enough. And because this door is only 2 wide, you can technically win the game without actually getting the power back on, I believe. Because you don't do anything in the bridge. The bridge is just a joke. There's pretty much some computers that you can see. Which, this didn't really work as well as I would have liked it to work. But, whatever. These textures are actually made by myself, if you couldn't tell. Those weren't stable diffusion. Yeah, the plan was... I do like this little feature, though. Oh, yeah, that's right. It automatically turns on. So you right-click on it, starts booting. And then it pops up like 2 seconds later or something. That's fun. You know, good stuff, good stuff. These computers you are going to be able to interact with and do things. Again, I ran out of time, you know? I didn't have... I mean, we had 3 weeks, right? So I couldn't create everything I wanted to. But, you know, there's always the possibility for future improvements. The first future improvement would be making sounds, I guess, because, wow, there was a lot of people that complained about sounds. Let me go look at some of these reviews. So we have one. I'm not going to read the people's names. You can literally just look at the package and you'll see exactly who's. Yeah, this one here in the highlight subject, whatever you want to call it. Author seems to have paid more attention to the lore than to the actual gameplay. I mean, the actual gameplay was the lore. Like, it's a story game, so it's telling a story. That's kind of what it's supposed to do. For some reason, people were complaining about red text on blue backgrounds, which I do not understand at all, especially because they say this. There's no sound, which, okay, yeah, sure, I could have added sound to the doors opening. I guess I could add footstep sounds, but it's literally an all-metal floor everywhere, except for the couple places where it's wooden. So I don't see if that really would have added anything. But I could have, and I probably will. But then it says here, red text on azure gray-white background, almost unreadable for someone who doesn't suffer from any heavy eye condition. Which I don't understand what that's supposed to mean. So you're saying you have to have an eye condition to be able to read red text on a background? Like, I don't know what that means. Also, I don't remember having a whole lot of red text anywhere. Well, let's see. Where do we have red text? Okay, so we have red text here. Black text. Black text. No text. My cool little sketch. Black text. Red text. Okay, so there's 2 spots that have red text. I guess red text is bad. I don't know why. Looks perfectly readable to me, but I don't have any heavy eye conditions. Or wait, yeah, so I don't understand. Maybe they made a mistake and they meant it's almost unreadable for someone who does suffer from any heavy eye condition. But if you're colorblind, like, how is that my fault? Like, I don't know. What am I supposed to do about you having a colorblindness? Like, I'm not going to make my game look dumb because somebody with colorblindness can't see it. Like, what? Should I just made it all black and white? Because somebody might be colorblind playing the game. I better just do all black and white textures because that way they can still see what's going on. No. Like, that's not my problem that you're colorblind. Sorry. Somebody said it was fun. Biggest complaint was there's no sound effects. There's no sound to track that I'm aware of. Some quiet, spacey background music would be nice. I don't do music anymore. I did that once or twice on some YouTube videos. Got copyright strikes, even though the music was like CC by SA. Like, okay, how am I getting a copyright strike on something that I have permission to use? I credited the author and stuff. So I do not do music at all anymore, unless I compose it myself, which I don't know how to. So yeah, I never do music because it's a legal nightmare. Sound effects I can create myself. So there's no legal issues there. Somebody here says, unfortunately feels too incomplete. The lack of sounds is disturbing. Again, there was a lot of people complaining about no sounds, so we'll put some sounds in. Somebody here says they'd like a finished story, music, and general sound effects. Again, I'm not doing music, but we'll do some sound effects. Yeah, if you ration up, you can escape the ship through the maintenance hatch that goes into space. Not sure if this was intended or not. It wasn't intended. You were supposed to die when you went through that door. It was supposed to kill you. The rations were just so you could get your health back when you came back in the ship. Whoops. Somebody says his experience is reminiscent of the Scott Adams Atari adventures. Absolutely no idea what that is, but cool, I suppose. Intrigue on the spaceship, neat little adventure with an open ending. The ending's not very rewarding. Yeah, I was going to have like an actual escape pod that you would go into and then like some end credits or something. I just ran out of time. Lack of gameplay, but good storyline. I don't know. Like, all you're doing is finding stuff to get through the ship. Yeah, there should have been more puzzles, but again, I had 3 weeks. I couldn't get more puzzles made. I'm sorry. And then we got somebody that says, nice game, but needs some more interesting gameplay. Pretty cool design and GUI. I am pretty proud of all of these form specs I made. I spent a lot of time developing them, which maybe I shouldn't have spent so much time on those. But, you know, what you going to do? You got to get the story element in to get the story points. What do we got here? We got some more random journals. The journals are honestly kind of boring. I got security level 6 now because I stole the captain's ID. There's actually 2 captain's IDs because you needed to have one if you were a captain and you clicked on something that had an ID on it. I had to have something to give you because otherwise the game would crash. Or actually, it wouldn't crash. You would just get an unknown item, and that was unallowed. So I did that instead. Captain has quite spacious quarters here with desks and a bed and a dresser. And then he has his office with all these file cabinets and another desk. It's very brutal, very minimalistic. You know, everything's just kind of empty. Huge empty spaces. I didn't have time to make a ton of models, you know? Like, I'm pretty fast at this stuff, but that's a lot of content to try to create. And then make a whole map and make sure everything works. And yeah, maybe I bit off a little more than I could chew. You never know. I enjoyed it, though. I had a lot of fun. What's cooking? Gentleman dressed to kill frog. Nothing's cooking. In fact, there's not even stoves in. Oh, wait. Actually, there is a stove in here. Yeah, well, I don't know what was in it. I think there was a book in the stove. So I guess there was a book that was cooking. Yeah, I think I just got a book from this one stove. What is it? A funeral today. Oh, that's sad. Yeah, some guy died. If you want to know the backstory, download the game and read all the books. Or you could literally just look at the code and see what all the books say. You could do that too. Oh, there's a doctor's office up here someplace too. So we've got an armory, which fun, just an empty room. I didn't have time to make anything for the armory. The only way you can get in it is if you're the captain or I think the second mate. So I was like, yeah, whatever. You got the doctor's office here. You know, tons of privacy. If you're laying sick in the bed, just literally everybody walks past you to get back here to see the doctor. You know, it's sometimes you got to give up on some privacy when you're in a spaceship. But you're allowed super huge sprawling hallways, you know, 3 nodes wide. We got room for that. But then we ain't got room for a decent-sized doctor's office. We got somebody's room here. I don't know whose is this. Second officer. Third officer. Yeah. We got all the mechanics. Oh, isn't there like a separate storage room here? Oh, no, the mechanics just all have tool. No, wait. Where are the tool chests? There's supposed to be tool chests somewhere. Oh, it might just be in the engineer's office. I think it is. So the tool chest, fun little factoid. Is this? Nope, that's the infirmary. Where's the engineer's room? There we go, engineer's quarters. These tool chests will give you... Wait, why did that give me rations? Why is he storing rations in his tool chest, you weirdo? All right, well, it gives you these tools. I don't know why I got a second grease injector. Oh, there's only 3 tools? I guess so. Also, all generated with stable diffusion, you know. There's absolutely zero use to these tools. You know, I was gonna make extra things, you know, but again, I ran out of time. I only had 3 weeks. And I spent a ton of it just building levels, building the map, whatever. No, actually, I spent a bunch of time trying to make this map thing work. So I had a few issues. Here are the issues I ran into. Let me just no clip into things. Not into that though. So the walls, can I get to a good, there we go. I'm inside of a wall. Neat. So the walls and the ceilings here, they're all mesh nodes, which, you know, no big deal. I do a lot with mesh nodes. Very used to them. They let light through. So in this hallway, we have lights on the ceiling, right? We go in here. There's no lights in this room. Although I think these emit like light level 2. But this room is quite well illuminated. Also, it's missing a hole, which I don't think I just punched out. Oh boy. Anyway, the light just goes right through the walls. Look at the walls. Let me turn off this so we don't see the highlighting. They're shaded differently. I wanted that. So this one looks a little lighter. This one looks a little darker. Because it's shaded on a per node basis. So this node, this quarter of this wall panel is this light level. And then one node away, it's this light level. If it was all with single wide nodes, it would probably blend fairly well. Your height might look a little wonky in places, but you wouldn't have big issues like this. I should have thought that would be an issue earlier on, and I would have just made everything single wide nodes. But I didn't really realize it and notice it too much until I was building. Are we going that way to get to the hangar? Yes, we are. I didn't notice it too much till I did the hangar wall because it's so tall. And I was like, this looks awful. Absolutely horrible. But it was too late. This was the last thing I built. It was like 2 days before the game jam ended. And I can't fix this. I just can't. There's nothing I can do about it. So it looks terrible. Looks absolutely horrible. I'm surprised nobody complained about it, honestly. Like, nobody noticed this. Like, this, it's hideous. So yeah, that was an issue. And then the light, you know, just shines through it too. So what I ended up doing is I encapsulated the entire ship in solid nodes. So everywhere there's a wall, there's solid nodes to block it from the outside world. Now, unfortunately, somehow depending on the time of day, the lighting inside still changes. So we just did times 6,000 to make it morning. If I do times 0 to make it night, whoops, times 0, it got a little bit darker in here, which it shouldn't have because the exterior light should have 0 effect on this. I'm assuming that's because I didn't go around and set fixed light on every single thing in the entire ship. I wonder if I could do this at like with a radius of 100. I can, okay. So now potentially setting the time of day won't change anything. Yeah, I should have done that before the map was put out, but oh well, I didn't think of it. I didn't realize it would be an issue. So there's that little bug. Originally I was using World Edit, and I mean I did place a lot of the map, but I was using that to load the world as well. So when you first start the game, let me start a new world. Doesn't matter about any of that stuff because it just copies something in. When you first start it, it shows you this nice little screen. And the reason for this, oh, that's also red text on a black dark background. I guess that's just some horrible sin. When you start it, you're in here. Well, evidently on some people's computers, World Edit wasn't fast enough, and they would fall through the floor, and pretty much it broke the entire game. So like 3 days before the jam ended, maybe 4 days before. It was the first time I had like a playable version that people could try. And I think Dirk told me, yeah, it doesn't work. I just fall to my death every time. So I had to find a new solution, which thankfully somebody suggested. I think it's called ModGen. How would I find that? I think I can just look here. Doopa-doopa-doo. What? Yeah. Let me see what this is called. Yeah, ModGen. By Buckaroo Banzai? I don't know exactly how to pronounce that. It works very well, actually. And now I was initially going to just do, a simple MTS import kind of doodad thing. And I'm very confused, personally, because when you read the documentation in the Lua API, it says that MTS supports node metadata. But then when you create an MTS file, it doesn't save any of the node metadata. So I don't know if it actually supports it or not. But see, it's important that I have that because all of the doors, if they have info text, that's node metadata. If they have power level requirements or security restrictions, that's node metadata. And there's no way to set that once the world is loaded in if it's not loaded with the node, because there isn't. I wasn't going to make a new door version for literally every option. That would have been like, well, there's 6 security levels and 3 power levels. So what is that? 18 different doors I would have to have made? I wasn't going to do that. And then try to keep them all straight? Nah. Or to change them around, I'd have to break a door and put a new door in. Oh, and info texts. Literally every info text would have to have been a new door so I could do an on-construct. Yeah, that would have been an absolute nightmare. But thankfully, this ModGen mod came to the rescue, and it worked flawlessly. I haven't seen a single issue with it. So that has been the saving grace to this. Otherwise, I don't know what I would have done. Curled up in a corner and cried, I guess, because I would have been screwed. What else? What other takeaways do I have from this? Yeah, maybe don't try to participate in a game jam as a participant when you work a 50-plus hour week job, because that really limits things a lot. Man, it was terrible. I had so little time to work on this. I still managed to place third, so hey. I mean, that's got to count for something. I mean, maybe just because I made all these cool models and people like, oh, that looks really neat. And maybe that made up for some of the things that it was lacking. I don't know. I didn't have like a detailed breakdown of any of the score stuff, why people rated things the way they did, other than the comments on the content database page. But yeah, there was that. There were some other things that I wanted to try in Blender to do stuff. I used it for, like I said, a lot of textures, like the sofa texture here. That was made in Blender. That was actually super easy to do. But there was some other stuff I wanted to do, and I haven't played with it in the past. I didn't know how to do it. I was like, I don't have the time right now to spend figuring out these different programs. So, because I was going to use it to do these wall textures. I was going to model some stuff and then do I don't even know what they call it. It's like you take a high poly model and somehow you bake the texture from that to a low poly model. I don't know specifically how that actually works, obviously, or I would have done it here. But I wanted to do that, but I didn't have the time. Also, I guess the seamless texture thing in Stable Diffusion, it's supposed to be able to do it. And I think just the version I'm using doesn't support it. And there were other versions that did. But the one that I use right now, it took me like a day to get it up and running, because it's, at least at the time, was a bit of a hassle to get installed. I don't know if because there was another one that I tried and it worked once, but then I closed it and I tried starting it back up and just refused to run again. And that one allegedly had better seamless texture support. but I never was able to get it to run a second time. And there's an add-on for Blender that I was using in the past, but that's updated. And after the update, it broke. Well, I didn't update it myself. And I think that's the issue. I need to update it. But that was also a very long process to get up and running. And so I just worked with a broken seamless implementation, which fortunately, for the most part, everything but the wood floor here, you can't tell that seamlessness is broken because they're all tiled things. And so I just I took the texture and I cropped it in GIMP so that the seams of the tiles lined up to the square. And then I just scaled it a little bit to make it fit. And then it scaled perfectly and tiled into everything it's supposed to, like this one. It didn't originally tile quite this well. And you can see there's still like this line's a little bit thicker than this line. It's hard to see with the node highlighting on, but like the seams between these two are a little lighter than the seams between these two. And this is probably actually where the texture repeats right here, where it's a little bit darker, would be my guess. But yeah, all in all, worked pretty well. It is kind of a weird texture to use as a floor, I'll give you that. But I was generating a lot of textures and throwing most of them away because they weren't any good. And like I said, when I was doing this, at least, my GPU wasn't the fastest in the world. I have since upgraded to a... What did I upgrade to? I had a 1080. I think I've got a 3060 now. So it does render quite a bit faster for Stable Diffusion. But that didn't help me because that wasn't until after the Game Jam that I made that purchase. So, yeah. But yeah, I had a good time doing it. It was a little stressful, to be honest. But I mean, oh yeah, I need high security clearance to get in there. But it was pretty enjoyable, all things considered. I would definitely recommend people give it a shot. It was fun, and you know there was a chance to win some money, which is always a benefit. Though to be perfectly fair, if you're gonna spend 3 weeks of your life working on a video game for the chance to maybe win, what was first prize? $200? No, 150 was first prize, right? 150, 150. You're literally better off mowing 2 lawns. Wow. Mowing 2 lawns, and you'll make the money in like 4 hours instead of 3 weeks. Just saying. If you really need the money, I don't think game jams are the way to go. It's not a very not cost effective. It's not a very good payout. You're better off, doing an actual legit job. But that being said, it was fun. Oh yeah, here we go. When you're a lowly civilian, you get pottage, white bread, and water. Except for supper, you get orange juice. Yay, orange juice! I actually do really like orange juice, but that's a great menu. Fantastic. There were so many fun things I was going to do, and I didn't have the time. Oh, this background texture, Stable Diffusion. There was some schmuck someplace telling, well, he wasn't telling me, he was saying this in general, that textures from Stable Diffusion you can't use for Creative Commons stuff because it's based off of copyrighted material or something bogus and stupid like that. And he was like saying that everything you render with Stable Diffusion is copywritten by somebody and it's not you and you can't use it. Like, bro, shut up. What are you talking about, man? What you talking about? Like, you're going to tell me that this texture exists someplace outside of what I created? Like, who would make something with this goofy, I don't know what this is even, some kind of a weird anomaly that shouldn't even exist. It doesn't exist in real life anywhere. Nobody ever created that before I made that render. But yeah, allegedly, according to this one clown, probably some guy that was butthurt because people are able to make their own textures now. They don't have to pay him to make them. I don't know if he made textures or not. Yeah. He was butthurt, though. And I laughed. It was online. I don't know the person. Never saw the person. We'll never see the person. They'll never know I laughed unless by some strange occurrence they happen to be watching this video. In which case, hey, bud, take a long walk off a short pier. Because you're on something. I think that's probably it. I don't know. Is there anything else possible to cover. Any questions? Any Q&A? We got any questions about the game here? Or, you know, my thoughts walking away from it. I would recommend, although it's not worth it. You're not going to make enough money to, you know, have made it worth your time. But just as a learning experience, it's fun. You know, like I said, I learned stuff about skyboxes that I would have never done before because I've never messed with that. The whole little door trick here, that was, dude, that's pretty cool. I really like that. The ability, I mean, this one doesn't say anything from this side, but this is dope. I may implement this into the door API that I use in Trader, which is just Doors for Mind Test Game with a few little tweaks to it. But yeah, like this is pretty ballin' to have different text on both sides of the door. I would need a better way of determining which side is which, so that way it wouldn't be quite as confusing for people. Also, there is this weird little bug, and I don't specifically know why it exists, but like if I go to this door and we do, all right, so we have lobby from this side and now we're on the inside and it says hallway. If I just change hallway to nothing and submit, it still says hallway, but then I open this and it still says nothing. Like it's the weirdest thing. It's like I can't set an info text to nothing, but if I hit a space and submit, now it disappears. But if I just have an actual empty string, it doesn't save it. But it seems to save it because it still shows an empty one here, and it's just pulling the info text from the node. So it's like, how does this work? This doesn't make any sense. But again, I didn't really care about that bug too much because I was the only person that ever saw that. Well, other than you now, because I obviously just told you. But yeah, I can work around that. I'll just put a space in when I need to clear it. And it works just fine then. But yeah, that was a little weird anomaly and I didn't understand. And I didn't fix because I didn't care. Okay, well, I think that's probably it. The game also does work in multiplayer, I guess. Potentially. Probably should. I never tested it because, you know, it's meant to be single player. But you probably could do multiplayer. I don't know how or what, but everything is based off of the player themselves. So I could imagine you would have some weird instances where somebody with security level 0 could find a badge sitting in something from somebody who had security level 6, and they could get security level, 6 because there's no security level 7. Anything above 7 just gives you, or anything above 6 just gives you 6. And they could basically skip everything by just doing that. I mean, I don't really know what you would do in this game as multiplayer because there's literally just flipping a power switch on and then throwing some items in transformers. And I don't think you can actually punch each other, so it's not like you kill each other or anything on the map. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, hey. A hole through the world. That's fun. Well, I think that's going to wrap this up. I actually have a buttload of Christmas presents I gotta make. Yeah. If you are interested in the game, now that you know exactly how to win it, I'm gonna throw the link in chat. No, you know, I'll put it in the video description. Yeah, that's a better place. Download my game here. What did I just do? There we go. Save. All right, it's in the video description if you're interested. I don't actually know. You may have to refresh the page for that to show up, which I don't know. I might do things. Hey, Cat's Cradle. Oh, clever. You just joined? Because I'm actually just finishing up here. I'll have to watch the rerun. Oh yeah, I did have this one thing that's worth mentioning. Evidently, if you make a node that's too tall like this, but then you make it too wide like this, And if this isn't the node where you placed it, you will randomly and occasionally fall through this corner, which completely breaks ramps. Which is why all the ramps are one node wide. It was a weird little bug. I was like, okay, that doesn't make any sense. But it was an easy enough fix. Just make them all one node wide. Here's all my fun wall pieces, if you didn't already see all of those. I would put these into a trader, but I don't think I want to, because honestly, they don't work so well with lighting, because the light goes through them and it's hard to actually build something with it. Also, the directions they place is quite confusing, to be quite honest. So, probably not. Yeah, I knew it was Lady K. I recognized the picture. Yeah, I was just going over my experiences making the game, and pretty much telling you how to win the game, actually. So, if you want to know how to win the game, I even told you the cheat codes. The cheat codes are disabled. And wait, how does that even work? Oh yeah, you have wait. How does that work? You need some kind of privilege to run these, though. I thought, and you weren't supposed to have. Oh, let's see. Power level 3. Ah, yes. You need a privilege called Enable Cheats to use the cheat codes. Very original. It's also a very good privilege because it lets you cheat. And open doors and, well, it lets you change your privilege and the power level. That only existed for testing purposes. And then I just didn't remove it because I was like, well, what if I need to test something? You know, I add some new feature, I need to test it. So I'm not going to pull it out. I could have pulled it out before the game released, but, you know, assuming I actually continue working on this, I'm going to have that code again anyway so I can keep checking things. So, yeah. But you can enable cheat codes, and you can also cheat to win the game by doing what I said previously with just exiting the game and restarting it to restart your power timer. I mean, it's probably not worth it because it doesn't really take that long. But you could do it if you really want. Oh, I need to cheat my way up. Power level 3. Oh, but I didn't enable cheats because I don't have the privilege. Oh well, whatever. Oh yeah, it's 100% winnable without the privilege. The privilege was just there for testing purposes. You just got to go around and click on things to find the ID badges. You can't actually punch holes through the walls like I just did. And then once you get the ID badges, you can go through other doors. Security level 1. Oh, there's not enough power. That's right. Yeah, I've got to go back over here. And then I got to take this door over here because there's a 3-wide door there that doesn't have enough power. Take that little stairway up through the mechanical area. I had a lot of fun making these mechanics passageways. I did have to change some of them several times so they didn't intersect with things. Hey, I just got through without the power. Woohoo! And then I'd have to find some more. I hate this trip. I hate it. There's no windows, blah, blah, blah. Sounds like some annoying little kid. Eat some stuff, break holes in the floor because why not, I guess. You can't break any nodes in the actual game. This is the developer mode, so you can build stuff. In the actual game, yeah, you can't break any nodes. There are no breaking things. Hello, Lucky Fun. I don't know if you just joined, but we're just ending. So, yeah, sorry about that. Watch the rerun, I guess. I got the download link in the video description if you're interested. That's going to do it for this time. I should have... I'm going to try to bump up the production. I want to get 2 game reviews out a week. I know last week I only did 1, but it was just the end of the jam, and I was a little burnt out, honestly, with spending so much time working on the game. But yeah, we should hopefully be pushing out a few more game reviews for the Game Jam games. Thanks for watching. There'll be a video Monday. There'll be one Wednesday. There should be some updates coming to Trader as well. pretty much just nodes that I'm taking from here and copying over. I just have to do a few little tweaks on some of them because, you know, they're different textures. And I may have to do some UV map changes so that they align correctly with the new textures. I didn't keep that in mind when I created these textures, which I probably should have, but I really wasn't worried about it. I was more worried about doing it as quickly as I could because I didn't have a whole boatload of time due, obviously, to the 3-week game constraint. So thanks for watching. Tune in next time, and I will see you soon.